Machine learning assisted plant breeding. Is this a key setup to overcome agriculture production challenges? Now, today I will talk about machine learning and role. With the global, if we talk about the global population that expected to mount nearly 10 billion by 2050 and climate change shifting the growing conditions of crops, plant breeders have to accelerate their research for finding optimum traits of crops with high yield and resistance to climate change, or we can say climate mayhems. The heavy responsibility on the breeders to find optimum traits always poses greater challenges with confronted with data obtained from genomics and phenomic studies, biotic and abiotic citrus analysis, genetic diversity assessment, yield component analysis, yield stability approaches, and environmental interaction studies. Although, my dear, traditional statistical methods continue to play important role in data handling, cutting-edge technologies with progress in computational sciences are leading a revolution in plant breeding. My dear, precise prediction can only be possible from the massive data when integrated into appropriate models developed for the investigation of the complex interactions of these crucial factors. In this context, my dear, machine learning (ML) imparts a vital role in data mining and analysis, offering significant information for decision making towards accomplishing breeding targets. Various machine learning tools, if we talk about the tools which we know, like convolutional neural networks (CNNs), artificial neural networks (ANNs), random forest (RF), support vector machines (SVMs), reproducing kernel Hubbard, space RKHs, and deep neural networks (DNNs) can be implemented as a tool to execute managed data and automatically via algorithms for data categorization, cataloging, and predictions. Modern plant breeding methods can also be precisely planned and predicted with various machine learning tools. The accuracy and the precision offered by the machine learning assisted breeding can be breakthrough for the production of superior quality crops with maximum yield. Now I give this scenario of whole plant breeding and the equipment still we know about this machine learning. Now I will talk about the introduction. First I will give you an introduction why we need machine learning in this incoming era, because climate change and the swell world population are the two major current global concerns which requires to be addressed with urgency in order to avoid the escalation of the shortage in food production. The rise in temperature and frequent heat waves over the globe, increase in the frequency of serious precipitation events, swollen greenhouse emission up to 400%, intense atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration by 100%, the unpredictability of rain, frequent incidences of natural disasters, water and soil pollution are the key contributors of lower agriculture productivity. The world population, currently 5,300 million, is increasing by about 2050 million people in up to 2050. Number of people living in developing countries will expand to over 900 million as per the reports of United Nations. A 70% increase in world agriculture food production is necessary to satisfy the food demands of the predicted population. But World has lost a third of its cultivable land due to erosion and urbanization within the past 40 years. And this farmland is becoming insufficient to feed the projected population globally. Improving the soil crops, water management, and citrus tolerant varieties are the sum of the choices to overcome the unfavorable impact of climate change on food production and food safety, my dear. Development of citrus resistant breeds of crops with maximum production in the most crucial segment of this process. My dear, plant breeding is an important dynamic technique of agricultural science widely used to improve the crops and ensuring secure food production. It began with straightforward selection of notable plants with superior characteristics. Later, my dear, many statistics tools were widely used in classical plant breeding. With the advancement in genetics and biotechnological tools, modern plant breeding techniques are also emerged, which made the research and implementation more and more predictive. My dear, if we talk about advanced phenotyping platforms, next generation sequencing, NGS technologies, genomics and phenomics in genome-wide association studies, GWAS, are some of the leading approaches for the new revolution in plant breeding. My dear, most of these plant breeding techniques are multi-dependent, my dear, variables versus multi-independent T variables. Under these circumstances, one regression model is required for each output, and this will lead to the generation of complex big data sets. Drawing the conclusion with normal statistical tools are worryingly troublesome and many times proven mild misleading. Scientists require weighty data mining tools to successfully handle and to predict, explain complex data obtained from these breeding techniques. This speech I am delivering today the various applications of machine learning in both traditional and modern plant breeding, and how it is acceptability can be a remedy for the world's food production crisis. My dear, machine learning is a category of artificial intelligence that permits software applications to become more accurate and predicting outcomes. Machine learning algorithms use historical data as input to predict new output values, which can be widely applied in both classical and in vitro based plant breeding studies to decode the flow of information about plants from the DNA sequences to the observed phenotypes. My dear, machine learning practices can be categorized as supervised and unsupervised models, linear and non-linear algorithms, and shallow and deep learning models. Convolutional neural networks, CNNs, artificial neural networks, ANNs, random forest RF, support vector machines, SVMs, reproducing kernel Hilbert space, and deep neural networks are the most popular ones for processing non-linear data in plant studies. Supervised learning optimized and extrapolative mode of fitting its parameters on identified training data comprising of inputs and subsequent known outputs. The resulting models can be can then be used to predict new unseen test data. Unsupervised methodologies do not consider outputs, usually by avoiding training data. The patterns found by unsupervised approaches can be widely be used to interpret large data and allow the researchers to prepare data for more successful supervised learning by focusing on relevant patterns. My dear, deep learning approaches uses networks containing neurons interconnected in such a way that signals can be transferred through the network. Typically, neurons are grouped into layers, and deep learning commonly works with several of such layers. A vast number of artificial neural networks are available, each adapted to specific attributes of input data. My dear, the successful adaptation of machine learning in plant breeding is highly depend on the availability of well quantified, correctly labeled trained data, on the choice of the suitable model. Now, I am talking about applications of machine learning in plant breeding. Even though older statistical genetics methods are widely used by the researchers for the past few years, a paradigm shift towards broad usage of machine learning algorithms in biological studies for prediction and discovery is being observed with the escalating availability of more and different types of omics, big data. The application of machine learning methods, especially deep learning tactics, has become more apparent plant breeding, where machine learning can be applied in their life cycle. Plants are liable to range of biotic and abiotic stresses. Completely different approaches will be used to assess the tolerance and resistance of plant genotypes to those stresses and to support superior genotypes. Harmonic mean HARM, HARM, yield stability index YSI, yield index YI, relative drought index RDI, mean productive MP tolerance, TOL, stress tolerance index STI, geometric mean productivity GMP, stress susceptibility index SSI, and modified stress tolerance index KISTI and K2ST1 are the parameters used for studying the plant's tolerance to drought. These classical approaches are based on morphological data, but a wide range of biochemical and physiological pathways involved, as the plant's response to environmental stress can also be targeted for these studies. So, combining phenomics data with genomic and metabolic data can be competent strategy to proceed with biotic and abiotic stresses assessment. The usual multivariate statistical practices are not efficient enough to handle these large quantity of data. Machine learning techniques is combination with imaging techniques could be used to simulate and invasive genotypes responses to stressful conditions. By using phenomics and omics, metabolics and genomics data, it can also be applied to predict the more resistant variant to stress and non-stress conditions. Tradition of machine learning methodologies with deep CNN are used for identification, categorization of crop stress and various plant diseases with 95 to 100% accuracy. Classification and assessment of genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is the most sought after qualities required for plant breeding programs. It is thoroughly investigated by analyzing physiological, biochemical, and morphological markers. Genetic and molecular markers are also be widely used for diversity measurements. Principal component analysis (PCA), discriminant function analysis, neighbor support vector machine cluster analysis, some of the traditional multivariable analysis analytical tool used for these studies. Prediction of genetic diversity with these tools are extremely time consuming and often demands feature extraction, but with the application of ML, machine learning model algorithms like convolutional neural networks, CNNs, artificial neural networks, implementation of object detection in genetic diversity assessment can be a big success with high accuracy. Indirect prediction and yield component analysis. My dear, a higher and improved output yield is the prime objective for most of the plant breeding programs. Even though the yield attribute is controlled by powerful gene expressions, the low inheritability of this is always been a result of the strong influence of the environmental factors. The complexity of this trait is one of the major challenges faced by the plant breeders. For improving the yield of the crop, researchers prefer to select highly correlated traits to have a better influence on the outcome. Multiple regression analysis, principal component analysis, PCA, correlation, coefficient analysis, and path analysis are the usually followed statistical approaches. But these tools are based on linear relationship assessment of dependent variables as a function of multiple independent variables, which many times can lead to wrong prediction. Application of non-linear machine learning algorithms can be ensured a better yield projections and analysis of non-linear relationship of yield components. Artificial neural network (ANNs) are the most efficient machine learning tool for these predictions. And have shown extremely good results when applied to study the effect of atmosphere pressure, precipitation, temperature, crop disease, snowfall, moisture content, humidity, and evaporation rate on the yield predictions of onions, apple, pears, and chives. Multilayer perception MLP is another tool applied by the plant breeders to predict the oil and protein content in sesame and wheat. Cross/hybrid breeding program. To predict the heritability of a cross-breeding program, extensive evaluation of the nature of gene action involved with phenological, morphological, and yield components characteristics is mandatory. A better prediction of parental combination is very crucial for the choice of superior hybrid varieties. ML-assisted ANN algorithms can be applied to understand the parental blends to accomplish the best breeds. Yield stability and genotype into environmental interaction. Very important study in plant breeding. Environmental fluctuations and genotype into environmental interactions are the elements that trigger year-to-year variations in the yield and phenotypic trait of a specific genotype. GEI impedes the precise selection of genotype for a targeted trait. Yearly variations can be analyzed by studying relative performance of a genotype over environmental conditions using stability analysis. Compilation of yield stability mostly rely on univariate approaches like coefficient of variation, coefficient of variance, coefficient of regression, Wilkinson's regression analysis, and Vrick equivalence. However, multivariate stability studies are more powerful and precise than univariate methodologies when deals with multiple independent and dependent variables. Artificial neural networks (ANNs) drastically decrease the required analysis yet predict faster with higher accuracy. Machine learning in modern plant breeding. With the advancement of biotechnology, agricultural science also adopt many of its in vitro techniques to improve the productivity. In vitro regeneration is one of those sophisticated techniques used in plant breeding. This approach is useful for effective mass propagation, production of bioactive compounds, and germplasm conservation. A wide variety of factors are crucial for the success of this process. These factors are classified as initial triggers, environmental and physical stimuli, epigenetic, transcriptional, cellular responses, molecules responsible for the formation of progress of stem cells. Apart from these processes, factors, experimental factors like plant genotype, selected explant type, culture medium, component, and explant age, etc., make the study extremely complex. It is obvious that linear programs have limitations to interpret from big data combinations. Many recent studies showed effortless integration of these data with ANN models and other neural networks for better prediction. Machine learning algorithms can even be extended with accuracy for the procedures like artificial polyploidy, induction, plant gene transformation techniques, gene editing methods, double haploid products, etc. Now, machine learning in plant phenomics and genomics. That's very important era nowadays. The genotype to phenotype gap is another important problem exists in modern plant breeding. While genomics research has equipped with advanced tools to yield information about the genetic makeup of various plant species, but the analysis and the processing of the big data generates always been a case of concern. Advanced sequencing technologies are allow longer reads of sequences in comparison to the typical short reads. However, a larger amount of sequencing error, 5 to 15%, is existential in the most of the times. To overcome this constraint, machine learning tools like artificial neural networks can prominently be used. Conventional neural networks, CNN models, to predict indel variants or SNPs, zygosity, and indel length from aligned long reads. Supervised ML machine learning has been applied to study the rates of recombination in the target genome and accurate prediction of the presence of a candidate variants. Classical phenotyping tools prominently relay anomalous measurement of a selected trait from a small pool of plants have very limited output and therefore im- im- impair inclusive analysis of attributes within a single plant and across cultivators. This so-called phenotyping tailback limits our ability to comprehend how expressed phenotypes linked with underlying genetic factors and environmental conditions. This obviously slowed down the success of breeding program. Different ML machine learning approaches, supervised and unsupervised, can be modified and applied for plant phenotyping. Machine learning in image processing, that's very important topic. The phenotype of a plant is due to complicated interaction between the genotype and environment, analysis of which requires accurate determination of factors such as soil composition, weather conditions, and availability of water. So it is important to establish a better correlation between environmental response, plant performance, and gene function. Image-based procedures have a great potential to drastically increase the scale and output of plant phenotyping activities, my dear. Revolutionary applications of sensing devices in agriculture provide a better platform to act as an exemplary tool to correlate and predict the indoor and outdoor cultivation conditions to the major physiological changes in plants because of external strains. Simple image processing methods tend to fail when complex, non-linear, non-geometric phenotyping tasks are to be handled. Tasks such as vigor rating, disease detection, pod oblique fruit oblique leaf counting, injury rating, and mutant classification offer higher level of obstructions which requires more complicated image processing techniques. Machine learning methods such as deep convolutional neural networks integrates image feature extraction with regression, connected components analysis. Machine learning techniques and deep learning have potential to improve the reliability of image-based phenotyping. It allows processing of huge amount of data from sensors and phenotyping platforms, increasing the output and accuracy in analysis, my dear. Machine learning assisted breeding and natural resources. Every single plant demands light, water, soil, and nutrients and growth medium. Data science processing tools like machine learning reduce the number of plants needed to generate a trait, saving not just money and time but energy and vital natural resources. More data is collected precisely on every product allows to make better predictions that are customized to their unique surroundings. In conclusion, my dear, with the integration of advanced technologies of computation, especially machine learning and artificial intelligence, precise breeding with 100% accuracy is likely to be achieved at a faster pace. Even though traditional statistical methods predominate the biological research and plant breeding, the new intents of robust machine learning tools and great promises to impart insights from big and heterogeneous research data. Although the development of a reliable and suitable individual machine learning algorithms for each complex biological question is difficult to pursue with the researcher are not leaving any stone unturned to make it possible because of the rather important problems of feeding the world to be addressed responsibly. Evaluate youth of the world, as we gather here today, I am with a overwhelming that I will deliver a very important topic, that is machine learning, how we use it in plant breeding. Take care. Khuda Hafiz. Me, Ahmad Mushtaq. I hope so that you like this speech and you subscribe my channel